Hi, and welcome to Coaching with Kaleah. This is Kaleah, and today we're going to talk about information overload and losing our connection to our own inner wisdom. E.O. Wilson tells us we're drowning in information while starving for wisdom. We live in the information age. The age of the internet, the age of Google. There's all of this information at our fingertips. YouTube, millions of people posting on YouTube, different kinds of information. A lot of the information that we're getting in our searches are conflicting information. So then it becomes our job to sort through all that information and to find the information that rings true for us. And then the question always comes up, what's true? What constitutes real wisdom? I was browsing through the YouTube videos recently, and I saw a video where the title of the video was, "Cord cutting is dangerous. Psychic cord cutting is dangerous." Well, I do psychic cord cutting, and psychic cord cutting is not dangerous. It's a symbolic process to separate out energies. But I realized that's how life is right now. There's always this conflicting idea that if we don't have the personal experience, if we don't gain wisdom from our own experience of life, then we're left having to sort through tons and tons and tons of information to decipher what's correct and what's not. Even in the field of narcissistic abuse that I work in, there's a lot of conflicting information. I have clients that come to me that say, well, he doesn't do this and he doesn't do this, so he can't be a narcissist. A lot of people don't understand fully what it means to be a narcissist. And so they go online and they start Googling and they start watching YouTube videos, and there's tons of information. And as I said, a lot of it is conflicting. It's always our job to sort through all that information, to decide what information is really useful. And we have even developed an addiction to the internet, an addiction to our phones, an addiction to being plugged in and online. And the more addicted we are to plugging in, to being online with all of that information at our fingertips, the more we unplug from our true nature. The less we are really with ourselves, that we sit with ourselves. And the less we have access to that wisdom coming to us from within. We have a different kind of being online that I would like to talk about today. And that is going to our upline, to that higher self, to that higher source of wisdom, to the divine, to the Godhead, whatever you want to call it, to plug in to our deeper selves, to our hearts, to our souls, and begin to get our information intuitively, to begin to get our information from within. This is what's going to give us true wisdom, because there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of noise online, on the internet. A lot of people sharing their opinions. A lot of people that are authorities on different topics. But just because somebody is an authority on a topic doesn't mean that that information is going to be right for you or accurate. And of course, there's a sorting process that we have to go through of taking what we can use and leaving the rest. We've got to stop making other people our guru. We've got to stop giving our power away to all the information givers. And there's more information givers coming online each day. And that's great. I'm an information giver. And I don't expect for you to take everything that I say to heart. It's great that we can go online and share our information because we're sharing our passion, we're sharing our wisdom, we're sharing things that can truly help people. But we still have to be able to go within and look at that information, put it up against what we're feeling inside. Does this really feel right? Does this feel accurate for me? Is this the right information for me right now? And I believe the greatest information givers are the ones that help to lead you to your own inner wisdom. The ones that lead you to your own voice. And of course, if you want to know how to get a stain out of a shirt, or how to plant a tree, that's very useful. We have all the information we need at our fingertips to do anything that we need to do. If you don't know how to charge your battery in your car or change the oil, you can learn to play the guitar, you can learn to play piano. There's so much that you can gain from being online. I just encourage you to spend more time unplugging and more time plugging in to your own inner wisdom. And that involves going into the silence of yourself, that quiet place. And a lot of people don't want to go there. I've heard a lot of people say, I'm afraid to be with myself. I'm afraid to be alone. I'm afraid to be with those voices in my own head. This month has been a lot about going into the shadow for me as far as my podcast go. I have a podcast, Pandora's Box, that used to be here on my YouTube channel, but I've recently separated it out and I've kept Pandora's Box as a podcast at pandoras-box-radio.com, and I'll put the link below so that you can access it. I've been doing a lot of deep dives with Pandora's Box, going really deep into the shadow, because a lot of us are afraid to do that. We're afraid to look more deeply at ourselves and what is beneath the surface of our awareness. We're afraid of our own inner voice. Sometimes we even see our own inner voice as a demon, as something dark. Because there can be different voices within us. There can be the voice of self-loathing, or there can be the voice of loving. And the voice of self-loathing will tell you you're not good enough, there's something wrong with you, you should just end your life now and get it over with. You're never going to amount to anything. These are the negative voices of self-loathing. And we have to be able to confront these voices, these lies that come up from our subconscious, to call them the lies that they are. Of course, that's not true about you. You're a beautiful, worthy human being, and you have a purpose for being here. And if you have a voice within that is telling you anything different than that, that's your lying voice. That's the voice of self-loathing. You also have the wise voice, the voice of love, the voice that knows without a doubt who you are and what you're here to do. The voice that has access to universal wisdom. And if you just listen, that wisdom will come through. You can hear it. You can hear the voice of wisdom speaking within you. As I became a writer and a musician, I was accessing that voice of wisdom. Sometimes when I write, it just pours through me. I don't even have to think. It just becomes a download. And I'm downloading from source. We all have that ability to connect to the source of our being, to universal wisdom. But first, we have to be willing to be in that silence. We have to be willing to be alone. We have to be willing to be quiet, to tune out all the distractions, and to confront our addictions. We live in a very addicted society. The internet and the phone can be an addiction. They're not always. Of course, we need these things. We live in a technological age, so we are dependent on our phones and on our internet, and our jobs are, and we are dependent on these things. But we have to learn to find the balance in that dependency, to where we know when to unplug and step back, and to tune in to inner wisdom, to tune into our inner nature, to go into that stillness, and to confront the addictions that prevent us from doing those things. Our addictions are distractions, and often they distract us from what we're feeling inside. We typically run from our emotions, from those negative, dark, painful, uncomfortable emotions. And we are emotional beings. We all have emotions. We've got to be willing to sit with our pain, with our discomfort. And if we're not willing to sit with our pain and discomfort, we're going to go out there into the world seeking distractions, whether we're eating too much, smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol, doing drugs, getting involved in toxic relationships, for example, workaholism, television addiction. There's so many ways that we can distract ourselves. So we have to be willing to ask that all-important question: what am I doing to distract myself from myself? And am I willing to stop that? I've had to ask myself this question quite a lot, because I too could get absorbed in work. I too could spend too much time online, watching videos, reading articles, watching Netflix. I could go on these binges like a lot of us do, these serial binges on a Netflix series. And these things take us away from ourselves. I'm not saying that it's not okay to do these things, but in moderation. Just like eating, we still have to eat. But how much are we eating? And what are we choosing to eat? What are we choosing to put into our bodies? Are we choosing foods that are nurturing and nourishing for us? Are we just choosing things that distract us, that taste good, but don't really have any value for us? And as we're consuming information, we've got to use the same ideas. Am I grabbing information that's really helping me? That's really helping me to grow? That's helping me to become a better person? Or am I just putting a bunch of useless information in? We need to go back to asking those important questions and get back to ourselves. One of my websites is called Path Back to Self. Because when we are in harmony with ourselves, we're in harmony with the divine. We're in harmony with the universe. We're in greater harmony with nature. And we're in greater harmony with each other. So we always have to return to ourselves, no matter how we are in the world, what we're doing out there, or if we're isolating in our homes, just plugged into a bunch of forums and, communicating with people, having our relationships all online. That's not healthy either. It's important to take yourself back, to come back to yourself and get yourself out of the house. Take your body out and connect with other human bodies. Connect with other people. We're hungry for that connection. We're not only starving for wisdom, we're starving for connection. We're starving to really be able to be with somebody as we are. and be loved and be accepted, to be heard, to be valued. But first we have to be able to do that for ourselves, because if we don't do it for ourselves, we're not going to trust it if it's coming from outside of ourselves. We have to hold space for ourselves, for that part of us that is hurting, for that part of us that's in pain, for that part of us that's confused, for that part of us that's feeling unloved. We got to be present. We need to be present with all aspects of ourselves. And that's what it means to love ourselves. Self-love isn't just a warm, fuzzy feeling. It's an action. It's a behavior. It's what we do for ourselves. We treat ourselves kindly. We hold space for ourselves to feel what's coming up to be felt. We often, when we're on a growth path and these emotions keep coming up and up and up, we ask the question, when is it going to be over? Well, our emotions, if we've been suppressing them the majority of our life, they need to come up and out and up and out. So we have to hold space for them to come up. But just understand, as they come up, they're going to be released. And then another layer comes up and it will be released. And during certain periods of time, it just may feel like it just keeps coming up and up and up. So you have to just keep holding space for your feelings to come up so that you can become comfortable with yourself. Even if you're in pain, I've had some moments recently where I had a lot of pain coming up. And I had to just breathe, sit with myself and say, it's okay. It's okay that you're feeling this. Bring it on. Feel it fully. Allow yourself to be fully immersed in that pain. And when I can do that for myself, that pain isn't so big and scary anymore. It can be released. It can be let go of. And now, because I've done so much work on myself over the years, I don't have so much of the old stuff coming up anymore. But I still get triggered, and there's still some core beliefs that I'm healing. We always have things that we are healing. There's very few of us that have reached mastery in this lifetime to where there's nothing coming up for us anymore. So it's not that there's things coming up from our subconscious, our core wounds, our pain, things from our past. It's how do we deal with them? Are we capable of holding space for ourselves? And when I say holding space, I'm talking about being with these emotions without needing to exit, without needing to distract, without needing to run to our addictions, to just sit still and be fully aware of what's happening within us. And as we're capable of doing that, we develop a deeper and deeper connection to ourselves. And as we develop that deeper and deeper connection to ourselves, there's no separation from self to source. So we have a deeper spiritual connection. And we have a deeper connection to each other. Because we're not in that place of feeling like we need to please others anymore, to get other people's approval. We have our own approval. We know we're enough. We know we're good enough. So we're not having to go out there and try to extract attention, admiration, approval, acceptance, love from people out there. Because we can begin to give that to ourselves. And as we give it to ourselves, as we truly are able to give that to ourselves, we don't have all that anxiety when we go out into the world to connect with others. Because we go out with the idea that I'm going to bring the love that I am to others. I'm not going out there to get something. I'm going out there to give something, to give the gift that I am to others. And that's why it's so important to pull back our energy from all these informational sources and tune inward and to begin to really get that information from within us, to get the wisdom that we are starving for from our connection to the divine, to God, to all that is. And this is where true wisdom comes from. True wisdom is not in all that information circulating online. True wisdom comes from the divine. So I invite you to look at what are those distractions in your life that are preventing you from spending more quality time in your own presence. And can you remove those addictions and those distractions for at least a little bit of time each day? And if you are heavily addicted to something like drugs or alcohol, then it's time to take action to do something about that, to reach out to get help, to face those addictions within yourself and know that they're not helping you to become the person that you really want to become. They're not helping you to have that really amazing relationship with yourself, and they're not helping you to have those really amazing relationships with others. So this is a great time to face any addictions that you might be struggling with. And if you need any help, I'm going to put my contact information below. If this information was helpful for you, please give it a thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe to my channel. That really helps. I appreciate you and I bless you. I will see you in the next video.